Hello and welcome to Calmfessions with the Voice of Reason. I am your host, Benjamin Boyce, and today's Calmversant is Poof, who is a spicy female shitposter on Twitter. And shitposter is not a derogatory term, it's actually a technical term for somebody who says silly and spicy things in order to have fun around ideas that people are having contention with, ideas around race, sex, gender, and all that testy, politically correct stuff. Poof has a particular style, and I've been following and enjoying her for a few months, and I invited her on, and she had never done a podcast before, so this is her entry point into AV media, and you guys get to know her a little bit more, or meet her for the first time. Some of her takes are a little too much for me, but I left them in anyways, and she also kind of reversed course on the interview and got me to open up and share a little bit more than I prefer to, but you get to give as good as you get. Without further ado, here is Poof. Who is Poof?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question before I answer you?
Yeah.
How did I even end up here?
Because you were spicy on Twitter, and I'm like, okay, this is this is a female with a kind of like a dissident taste, right? So I'm really interested right now in mapping the dissident arena, and there's a lot of males there, right?
Yeah.
And then the females are kind of few and far between that kind of take a role in it, and you're putting yourself out there as kind of an influencer, whether intentionally or not. Like you're kind of playing the game. So I'm like, okay,
shit.
well, what's this? What's the psychology of doing this? Like, how does that interact with you being a female in a kind of a male kind of dominated space? If that is even fair to say, maybe you don't feel that way.
That's a lot. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
To be honest. No. So I'm going to start on this podcast, which is lovely. I'm going to sound really smart about it. I don't know if I'm dissident. I'm just spicy. I'm just, whenever someone DMs me and says, oh man, that was, I'm like, hey man, I'm just living my truth.
Okay.
I'm just doing what I do offline, online.
Okay.
Literally. Like, and I guess it is a mostly male dominated space, but I don't see it that way. I think because I don't view myself as a female account, so if I did, I would understand the interplay. But I think if I don't have a female profile picture, no one's able to tell, especially when I start fighting with people online. They're like, hey, shut up, you stinky incel. And I'm like, cool. Yes. So, yeah, I don't know.
How did you get into, I guess, what's your journey into the internet? And this is a generation specific entry point. So did you grow up with an iPhone in your hand all the time, or on
no.
BBS boards, or like, I don't know, DeviantArt? Or like, where did you start playing?
I can age myself right now. Flame Wars.
Flame Wars. Okay. Which is pre-Gamergate? Like, what's Flame War?
A flame war is something that you get into with someone online when you're about to have an internet argument. And sometimes it turns into an all-out thing where you just start hurling the insults. It's really common in the days of the user rooms, Yahoo, MSN, AOL, message boards. Oh, they're getting into a flame war. 87 pages of this forum are just them hurling insults at each other. So I used to be called a flamer, which co-opted word can mean a lot of things. But in California, it's cool to be a flamer. So
okay. And what were your general topics of interest, like when you first began? So this is what, the 2000s?
2000s, early 2000s. I didn't have a computer at home. So all my dissonant activity was like on like a public library computer. But I don't even think it was dissonant. It was just not normal. That makes sense. So in the days of the Yahoo user rooms, rest in peace, they used to have a room called like the RPG room before it had a bunch of sex bots in it. And underage went in there and saw that people were doing something called role playing. I'm like, this is kind of cool. And there are many types. You can fight role play. You can sex role play. You know, you could just story role play. And somehow, maybe out of curiosity or just like to see how it would work, I took on a male persona and went into the fight RP. So, you know, just a lot of swinging for the fences. So on and in and out of character, I had to male represent in order to maintain credibility. Because the minute that you were female in a fighting role play, it always devolved into sex, or the guys treat you differently. They might be easier on you. I saw it time and time again because I didn't just jump in there. I was just like, oh, let's see what's going on. I was a young poof, you know, I was like 16, 17. But by the time I went into there, I was a full-fledged dude. And I'm there to fucking kick virtual ass. So that's where I started.
Fight rooms, are they like, you guys doing like somebody sets up like a Roman legionnaire and another person sets up another, like the French barbarians and stuff, and then you duke it out that way? Like what's the content of the fighting?
I think your ideas would have been tremendously helpful for these fight role plays. I did bring a little pizzazz to it by introducing a referee, someone who understands fight physics. So for instance, in a fight role play, you can't just jump and swing your sword and backflip out of the way and do, you know, there's an order of operations that includes the other person. You have to go back and forth within the physics of it, counting 1 or 2 actions at a time. So there's actionable actions and there's actions that are done within the flavor of the fighting that give you an advantage. So for instance, if a samurai, Batasai, who I'm fighting against, says, he writes, I get into stance, that automatically tells me that I can exploit what that stance is based off of what he says. So that's his first unactionable action. And the next one is I draw my sword. So my first question would be, are you right or left-handed? You know, and it goes on and on like that. Before I came, it was just, I get my sword, I bonk you over the head, you die, I push you off a cliff, and, you know, I'm still alive because I use my grappling hook. Anyway, a whole bunch of hoopla because, you know, it's just a bunch of high schoolers and some middle-aged men pretending to fight on the internet with text. So, but I'm like, hey, man, how am I going to really win if they're not rules? How am I going to really dominate if I don't really know if I actually won? So from there, I gained, I guess they would call it infamy, because I was a rule Nazi. I'm like, you could create any rules you want, but you have to create them so I could win. And then from there, I guess infamy turned into respect. And then when I was ready to retire, meaning I was going from community college over to university, I'm like, I'm not gonna have time to do all this. You know, I told my closest friend, Lieutenant, I told him, hey buddy, can you take over for me? Why? Where are you going, Ace? Where are you going? I'm like, I gotta move on to different things and find a boyfriend. He's like, Ace, are you gay? I'm like, hell no, man, I'm a girl. He's just like, wow. It was a huge thing. So it just so happens that my retirement and the decommissioning of the user rooms are starting to happen. So it was good. And I developed a lot of positive friendships. But as you can tell, Or, I guess as you can imagine, there are not going to be a lot of right-wing people who are weaving out in a forum where there's, Master Chiefs and Batisize, Ireland Samurai and whatever. And like, maybe there's a few right-wingers because there's the Gamergate types who might have kind of touched that area, but it's pretty esoteric. But a lot of these people that have become my regular internet friends, kind of like my internet family, started with an argument. But I'm not interested to win as I did in the old days with fight role play.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the rules are.
Yeah.
If there are no rules, there's no point in winning. So my only goal is to have fun. And you have fun all sorts of ways. You have fun by playing with people you don't fucking like. And you have fun by hanging out with people you do. And I don't think it's more complicated than that. I think people make it more complicated to mythologize the times that they win. But it's not that serious. I'm not saying it's not serious as in the topics are not serious. I think that if I met that person face to face and they did half the stinky stuff that they do online, they would realize how silly it sounds knowing that I'm always smiling, for one, and that tonally it's not as malevolent as it looks because they're in a very dark headspace. I'm not when I enter. Yeah. Even though I just call that person stinky as fuck, like, it's just me knowing what their tactics are. It has nothing to do with their personality. It's just, hey, you have a stinky tactic, but that doesn't tell me that they're evil. I don't really think people are. I think it just tells me that they're in a really stinky place in life that makes it so that the internet is a way for them to validate instead of having fun. Why can't I have fun and be racist sometimes? Like, why can't you have fun being sexist at me? Why can't this and what I mean by all of that, because I don't want anyone coming for you. They can come at me all they want. I'm BIPOC as fuck. Like, go ahead. But, what I mean by that is that, like, there's no person under the sun that doesn't have a thought that's entirely, irreverent. But why would I punish them for that thought? Why would I police their thoughts and make it so that their life is so miserable? Like, why can't people just say stuff? And if I really didn't like it, I'll just leave it alone. Why? The only time when that's different is when it's related to policy. So I kind of take the Michael Malice point of view that they should, politicians should be treated a little differently because of what they represent. I mean, because they represent. Like, that's the part that should be treated with some level of seriousness, even if the methods by which you show it are funny.
So yeah, that's it's hard to articulate. So I can be accused of being misogynistic by some of the statements that I make.
Wait, you aren't?
Well, it depends on what you mean by misogynistic or about by sexist. Like, when I criticize, I don't criticize women. I criticize feminism, and then feminists see that feminism and women are the same thing. To me, they're disaggregated. A woman is a woman. A feminist.
It's a woman moment. Of course, you're going to see it that way.
What?
I'm just saying. I'm, as a woman on the internet.
Yeah.
Women kind of have a hard time distancing themselves from concepts. That's a thing about male life and male thinking that I wish all women would embrace. And that's not me saying, like, hey, broad, toughen up. That's not really what I'm saying. I'm just saying that they would have a lot more fun and feel more sexy if they just kind of, took a chill pill, and see that, hey, unless this person is saying, you, Becky, are a turd, just don't take it personally. If they say women are turds, or, feminism is a big stinky turd, Becky, if she was just like, hey, it ain't me, They're still talking to me. So obviously I'm not a turd. They're telling me that, because if they thought I was a turd, then they want to talk to me, right? Even if it's not true. But if women just treated it that way, kind of like had a more male approach to it, I think they'd have more fun. And I call it male because males very often, unless they've been feminized, and by feminized I mean socially feminized, I'm not talking anything about trans stuff, please. I'm just saying like feminized as in learn to empathize and to understand implicit statements. Unless men have been like inculcated into that, a lot of times like, what does that have to do with me? I don't know. Like a lot of times stuff isn't even interesting to them unless you say their name. Unless you say, "Hey, Beckett, you're a turd." He didn't hear anything you said. So sometimes you have to tell Beckett that he's a turd to talk about how misogyny is a turd, because he won't listen.
What's the problem with misogyny then?
I'm biased because misogyny, just like feminism, are ways that people tell other people their grievances without necessarily knowing the other side of that. It's not a dialogue, it's a monologue. That's how I view. I don't want to get in trouble, with the internet, but to me, these concepts seem to me like grievances. Because if what separates a grievance from like a conversation is, say, there's some things that I'm not okay with about you personally, and there's some things that you're not okay with about me. Systemic stuff, let's just focus first on what pisses us off about the person in front of us. Can we just do that? I'm not saying this other stuff isn't important, but if you can't figure it out on a micro level and have that conversation and fix that, why would you even turn to a systemic thing? I don't understand. If you're not at peace with everyone around you to the point where you feel like, hey, I can tackle bigger things, it's the same. Like, it's like trying to carry too many groceries up the stairs. Like, why do people do that? So to me, when people talk about misogyny or misandry or whatever, it sounds like a grievance of someone who has not talked to their people in their lives to tell them, you fucking piss me off. Yeah. That's how I see it.
Okay.
So if you were to ask me what's wrong with misogyny, I'd say nothing. It's just someone complaining and not knowing, either because they've elected to not discuss it with people in their lives, or just not having someone to talk to. And the same goes with the women. It's just not having a target to discuss things with. And it turns into this general thing. Because there's no person in your life who's meant to be there that, wouldn't hear you out and have some action, whether it means, fuck you, I'm leaving, or, hey, that pissed me off, but let's see what we can do. It's like, it's one or the other, right? But a lot of times people leave these unresolved issues and just start railing at the system and the pay gap and the alimony and the whatever. That's a you problem. You're having an alimony problem, my dude, with your wife, this person. Fix that first. You lady, you're hating on all these people and you're a single mom because the choices that you made also had another component, which is this other guy who was important to you, and he failed you. That's not all dudes. I don't understand.
Okay.
Yeah. So when people talk about these concepts, I don't immediately shut them down and say, you're just doing grievance talk. I don't fucking care, And to be honest, my bias is toward male life because it's my self-practice to be patient, knowing that I am a woman and I can talk to men about what they hate about women. To me, it's like a way of keeping myself grounded. Because I feel like, kind of like, if you enter a bubble where you're like, I don't know. I mean, women love me. They love me because it's like having like a harmless dude around at all times. They love me. Huh. Males is a little harder, and sometimes, you know, I haven't really encountered one that didn't turn into my friend, but it's because I'm not really there to like win their affection. I just want friendship, you know, and it's more disarming, and that's why I always keep telling people I'm taken. I tell them stories about my bae all the time, so that way they feel comfortable with being my friend.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But I guess the reason why I'm well, there were two reasons. One is that it's a good self practice, keeps me grounded, and also two, I think that females are in a unique position to recreate woman zeitgeist and to become a new Helen, but not in the way that it used to be before. I think because we've reached a higher level of abstraction, I think that women can make a positive, fun experience worth fighting for very easily. Men have not lost hope completely despite what we know about them from their red pill space. How do I know this? I'm friends with all of them. I don't have a problem with any of them. They don't care. Like, they literally, you know, it's like, I'll hear it all the time. You're one of the good ones. I'm like, that's not true. It's patently untrue. There's as many good ones as you want. But, you know, it's just what's good to you is not good to someone else. And it goes on, you know. But, you know, women can easily recreate that fun feeling of conquest and also be an object of admiration without necessarily being objectified by simply chilling the fuck out. That's all. I know it's a bit spicy, but it's true. You get one woman in a room where guys are complaining about women and she goes, you're right, man. Women are retarded. They're like, hey, it's literally it. And then she can say whatever the fuck she wants for the most part. Like, hey, you know, but you guys are turds. You do this, this, and this. Like, oh, yeah, we do. It's as easy as that. You just say just the one thing. You agree on one thing, and men are just happy for it. So it's like, it's not a hard space to exist in. Because you asked me that online. You're like, you know, I was like, because you were, and this might be a different experience for other women. Not going to shit on them. Different story, different mission. Okay, but you know, when you're like, oh, well, I guess I don't want to assume that, you know, it's you deal with harassment. I'm like, I literally don't. I don't. But it's because they don't really see me as a woman. A lot of them forget that I'm a woman until I post like a picture and they're like, oh shit. Like, holy shit, thank God I'm not gay. You know? Like, yeah, I'm a woman. They're like, are you sure? Let's see your penis. I'm like, I don't have one, so I can't show it to you. I could show you my husbando's penis and we could just pretend that it's
oh no.
It makes you feel better.
Oh no.
No, really, like something like, oh, thank God, fuck. I'm not gay, guys. Good for you. I mean, you are gay if you're on the internet. Let's be real.
What?
You are gay if you're like, it is not the Wild West anymore. Literally, people cry from fucking hearing a mean comment. And we're all engaging in this very female space. You're gay, I'm gay, like Paco's gay, whoever's gay. Like, because I asked Bay one time, I'm like, hey, why don't you go on the internet? Like, you're hella funny, you're retarded, dude, they'll love you. He's like, that shit's gay. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's just like, you know, like, think about it. You guys are talking all day. What do you talk about? Like, what? We share memes too. He's like, no, there's not enough memes or meme procurement energy to justify 12 hours on Twitter. You cannot find 12 hours worth of memes. You can't do it. What you guys are doing, that shit's gay. And I'm like, you guys are talking about your feelings. Like, I don't talk about my feelings. Like, yes, you do. You talk about how women are dumb. That is a feeling. I'm like, He's like, you don't see it that way because you're surrounded by dudes who agree with you. But all you guys are a bunch of women on the internet. I'm like, oh my God. Oh no.
That's the spiciest take.
I caught the big gay. He's like, yeah, you're a woman online and offline. How do you like them apples? I'm like, well, it's true. Especially Twitter, it's all words. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's some pictures sometimes, but it's all words. And everyone's like trying to write their feelings on the I disagree with that. What does that really mean? It's a woman moment. Everyone's having a woman moment on the
Well, okay, define woman moment again. It's taking things personally. It's an empathetic mode of
I use it for any time someone's being dramatic in an unwarranted way. So, and I've offended a few women by it, but none that were my friends on the internet. Okay, just random women. All my friends, they're more intense than I am. Okay, like Forest Mommy. There's Kristen. Call me K123. Some bitch I know. L. These are not women on the internet. Okay, they are Spartan women on the internet. But like if I say woman moment, all the women know what that really means is women who just are getting real hyphy over stuff that it's not a big deal. It's words. If you log off, they're gone. There's like literally, that's like 90% of problems on the internet, not including cyberbullying. Okay, I'm just talking about just a regular day on Twitter. If you log off, it's gone. People forget literally in an hour or two. Mm-hmm. So it's a total woman moment. Men have women moment. Oh, what do you really mean by that? I mean, calm the fuck down, dude. Like it's not that big of a deal. You're sitting your fat ass down in front of the keyboard. You're never going to go to the Capitol. Shut the fuck up. Your sloppy ass is just sitting there getting mad for what? Mm-hmm. Stop having a woman moment. One of my friends offline said, like, well, what's a man moment? I'm like, you want to see what a man moment is? I'll show you. I'll show you what a man moment is, and I usually just show them a meme or something.
What's the qualities of a man moment then?
Man moment is like when you win in a way that just it's not something you should be proud of. Fuck yeah, fucking It's like
what, punching somebody in the nuts. Is that kind of like you're going?
Well, what's an example of doing that online?
Well, I mean, so I don't know if this is a man moment, but you were talking about the guy that you got in the guy who was virtue signaling, and he turned his virtue signaling into a story about how he's just splattering himself with his own semen. Right.
Yep.
Is that what you're talking about?
That's a fucking man moment. Am I going to tell that at church? Am I going to tell that to my wife bedside? Hey, I made this guy nut all over himself. Unless she's, used to the man moment. It's not something that you should be proud of, but it is something definitely you should be proud of if you meant to do it on purpose. Okay. I think that's what a man moment is. So man moment, woman moment, there's things about it that people are not proud of, but I think what I really mean is the type of aggression displayed. Is it passive or is it active?
Okay.
That's what I really mean. Okay. I think passive aggression is embarrassing.
Okay. So
I get it sometimes.
I'm sure that I engage in all of these behaviors that you're talking about.
It just sounds horrible to say it, and I know that I'm going to get fucking canceled by people who haven't yet seen how charming and awesome I am on the internet, and I feel like I've definitely shot myself in the foot, but it's okay. I only want soldiers anyway. Okay. But, so how passive-aggressive have you felt? Like, what was the most passive-aggressive moment you had, aside from logging off, because you're just like, did you step in shit, basically, and fall into a trap that you knew was a trap, but you did it anyway because you're so pissed off about it?
Well, I got pretty used to the fact that I'm not good at arguing on the internet because text doesn't contain the meaning anymore when any emotion my emotionality destroys the argument, so I can't even participate into it because I get too much feeling. So I end up not being able to step in that kind of stuff because the
So you're
only
not having
tactic.
a woman moment. You're having a woman experience.
Oh yeah, okay, there we go. Which disables that, but and so I have to default into textual games, into questions, or into what I do is I never take anything personally, and I try to very specifically never use direct terms when I'm in an argument mode with somebody's in an argument with me. I never say you are doing this. They'll do that to me, and I'll ignore it when they do it to me, and I won't do it back to them. I will talk about the concept. Because the argument will be destroyed if we're not talking about the concept. If it's just my will versus yours, but we're not fighting over anything. We're just on the internet, right?
Right.
It's just their will and my will. There's no way for them to enter a win state because no matter what I say, they're going to have the last word anyways because they're caught up in this spindling thing. So I am constitutionally incapable of submitting myself to that, other than sometimes people will start to impugn my intentions. They'll say, you are doing this, you are doing that, in such a way I'm like, you're
then trying to further this type of agenda, blah, blah, blah.
Well, like yeah, it's my agenda or my misogyny or something like that. And I will get very direct on them. Thanks for the kitty shot.
No problem.
I'll get very direct with them and saying, you're being silly. You are being silly. I'll say that without saying that. I'm like, the statement that you just said doesn't make any sense. And here's this other statement that you're going to say next that's not going to make any sense because you're not, you can't say these things. You're being silly. You're being irrational. You can't do that. But you can basically say, this doesn't, not you, this argument doesn't make any sense. What you just said doesn't make any sense, right? So that's the only way to argue because there's nothing to come from their will versus my will, right? Because we're never going to kiss or hit each other in the end because it's all just words.
Unfortunately,
internet, right?
Hey. No, it's funny too, and maybe it's just my bias, but when I look at your feed, and this has at least been in the last year or so, I feel like you're pretty efficient with shutting people down. It's usually like one statement, and then it seems like you have a meditational reply to it when you make a new post. Basically, like, summarily, this is how I fucking dominated this motherfucker, and here's the thought that's behind it. That's usually what I see. Like, I see that there's like a sum of like all your thoughts in an argument that you've already won displayed in like one tweet, this one nice thing. So like, yeah, I was actually probing to see if I could go on the internet later and find some real nasty woman moment that you had on the internet and make fun of you, but where you're like, you're a turd, blah, blah. And, woman moment, like, I guess if I were a man, or I guess if I didn't occupy this unique position, which didn't occur to me at the time, but I'm willing to give this to feminists, that I'm only cavalier enough to say it in this climate because I am a woman, which a lot of feminists find odious because they think it's a pick-me type of thing, when that's literally not how I feel about it. Because I've accepted that I'm here to learn how to be, tougher and to be more flexible and in some ways be empathetic without necessarily being sympathetic. If that makes sense. Like teaching people how to argue. I do that a lot. I teach them how to argue. We become friends. But I think it does have an odious take when women are using it to, for instance, put down other women. But the way in which they're doing it, it's not clear. It's like, for instance, slut shaming. Why? Why do that? Or
why do that? Why? Why is there?
Yeah, I don't know why they do that, but they call that a woman moment. If some girl's a hoe, woman moment. No. That's a person moment. People are hoes. Or if someone's like a single mom or a single dad, oh, woman moment. What? Huh. No, that's not how that works. Women and men moments are for approaches to ideas that speak to feminine and masculine values. I don't think it's meant to be derogatory. And I know that when I use woman moment, I often mean it in a derogatory way, because I view the feminine approach to the internet, not very fun. It usually leads to some form of grievance that is just not fun, and it's not productive for the internet.
But you made a category of Spartan women on the internet. So there is a way for positive female virtues to be conveyed through the internet form. What is the quality?
And when you see these women, you know they are women, because they're not going to shame mothers, wives. They're not going to shame women for characteristics that can be exhibited by everyone. But they're uniquely Spartan because they're battle hardened enough to deflect male and female criticism. Like, if a woman calls another woman a pick-me, what does that really mean? There's a level of envy in it, and also a way of saying you're only saying this stuff so you could get people to like you, which is, like you said, impugning character.
Well, and something that you'd only say if you want people to like you itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, look, like, I'm calling her a pick-me, guys. Like, and everybody's like, oh yeah, good for you.
You know, like, exactly. But what a Spartan woman does is it's like, says, fuck off. That's really the response to that, or, you know, like, or shut the hell up, ho. But, you know, not ho as in you're a slut. It's just a term. You know? Shut up, stupid, you know? But, like, when people do say that, like, oh, you're a pick-me, a Spartan woman, these Spartan women, it just means nothing to them. It does not stop their day whatsoever, because they know that their ideas are centered around something that has more principle to it. Because there are women on the internet who do espouse certain values in service of getting more engagement. And it's not to say that they don't have some values that overlap with the ideas that they're saying, but the reason why I say that they're not necessarily doing it from a place of principle is because they often contradict themselves a lot. So, for instance, there's someone who, without naming her, I target her all the time because I hate her a lot. But she says things that I know that are extremely just not, like, you are a woman on the internet. So saying women need to shut down their Instagram when they're in a relationship. You're only saying that because you're not in one. So what are you going to do? You're going to just stop all your influence because you're in a relationship, or does it not apply to you? It's a sort of gatekeeping and a way of doing things that it's so convenient. The purity test is so convenient for this woman that all other women are excluded from it. Whereas a Spartan woman who comes from a place of principle says, hey, women should explore not posting nudes of themselves on the internet. What does that really mean? The Spartan woman might say, hey, you're more than what your body is. If you want to do that, that's fine. But, like, you know, if you're going to complain about men objectifying you, then maybe just stop posting that way. And, you know, like, if a Spartan woman says that, a feminist might say, you're just blaming women for making choices and men devaluing them and blah, 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 blah. No, there's realities to it. And she never told them not, like, just explore doing it. If you don't want to, then shut the fuck up. Who cares? But, you know, it's like there are realities that we like to ignore when we express our grievances. And the Spartan woman understands that. And so they try to live those values and do the things that they suggest that others do, but they don't shame other people for not doing that. That's what I mean. Mm-hmm. No. Yeah. And there's lots of women like that on the internet, in the red pill space, and I do see them sometimes roaming around in the left-wing space, like Natalie Wynn. I like her a whole bunch. ContraPoints. You know, like this. I just feel like, but the thing is, they're engaging in a more assertive and kind of like not passive aggressive way of interacting. Because if a woman says to them, you're just doing this and blah blah, and you're not, you know, holding men accountable, it's just like, first of all, that's a separate problem. Men objectifying women happens whether they post nudes or not. but it's a separate cultural problem that has nothing to do with the former problem, which is women feeling bad that men are appraising them at every moment. You can explore doing different things to see if you get different results, but you don't have to. But that's a separate problem. But it's like, why is it always that if I say feminists should stop yelling in arguments, that I get yelled at by a feminist? Like, I wasn't talking about you, but now I am talking about you. When someone's just like, well, man, all these right-wing girls are pick-me's. I don't see myself as that until they say, Poof, you're a pick-me. And I say, fuck you. Like, pick this bitch. But like, I literally, it's not that I don't feel a pang of like, but, wanting to defend my character.
Yeah.
But you could easily control that by just not typing it. Literally. Yeah. And by not typing it, you didn't actualize the accusation for yourself. And that's part of the training. It's training to kind of just not take everything personally.
Yeah. But
it's not fun.
Fun. Yeah. I mean, you take it personally. I mean, feeling a sense of fun is a personal feeling. That is an emotion, right?
Yeah. But I think fun, or at least my definition of fun, is inclusive. We can't have fun when we're shutting people out of ideas. We can't have fun if we're gatekeeping how language works. And we can't have fun if anytime someone has a grievance, a misogynistic or misandrist grievance, that it applies to us. You wouldn't do that with your best friend if they're like, all women are cocksuckers. You wouldn't, your girl best friend, they're your best friend. You just be like, yeah, man, what the fuck? And then you would just talk about it. When your best friend tells you that, you don't automatically assume. So why would you do that with a stranger? Yeah. Well, what's the point of doing that? Not to say they're your best friend, but.
Well, yeah. I mean, going back to my anti-woke days, which I can't do that anymore because I've said everything that I need to say about that, and I'll just let other people say everything that I already said and get all the points based on my work. No. But,
you already had enough Aurelian quotes on Twitter that summarize your complete and total view. You're like, I have won all of these arguments. They're closed.
Well, like the Hannah B. Jones or Sarah Rao, like the race hustler women who post all white women are evil or something like that. Like at one point she's designing her things for engagement. She doesn't make any sense. So I can go and say, nuh-uh, or I can say, you're offending my race. That's racist. You're hurting me, or you're planning the white genocide or something like that. Or I can make fun of it and say, you're a ninny, but in a clever way, and then leave it at that. But there are statements that need to be attacked. There are, misogynistic statements, misandrist statements, racist statements that are allowed that need to be attacked, right? So for example, and I have to curate how I respond to these things because even liking the things would put me into the battle or choosing a side, but it came about that Colin Kaepernick has been complaining about his adoptive parents, about how his adoptive parents were so racist or something like that, and really did him wrong. And then worldwide memes responded, well, now let's talk about your real parents. What do you have to say about them? And you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to like that, but, there we go. There we go.
You're done cooked.
So there's ways of engaging with that are fun. I mean, I want something new.
Hey, but were you calling that fun? Benjamin, were you calling that fun? That's not fun.
I chuckled, but I didn't like it because I didn't want to be associated with the whole thing. Now I'm associating myself. Yeah, well, so I mean, as I move on, like as I curate my profile I have to be neutral in a certain way.
That's your MO though, man.
Well, it's my MO, but it's my MO. But it's also like an intentional. I'm producing myself kind of more understanding that I have to restrain some of my authenticity, restrain some of my reactions. In Twitter, I can explain it, and she disappeared. I can explain it in this form because we're having a conversation, so people can see like the contextual thoughts behind it. But like reducing it into Twitter, going into the camp on Twitter, I just have to be a little bit more careful, and so I'm having less and less fun on Twitter, which is kind of the trade-off. So,
can I just say, I feel like restraining your authenticity should be your fucking mug tag. Like literally, you should sell a mug that says restraining your authenticity. I am dead serious about this because that is your MO to a T. Because like you are extremely dank. I've seen sometimes I'm just like, ooh, I could have just. Ooh. I mean, you always find a way to say it that obviously is not gonna,
plausible
it's not gonna,
deniability.
Exactly. Yes. But like that is definitely an example of restrained authenticity. But I think it's good. I think restraint is good sometimes.
Okay, so just to further that idea, and I don't like this conversation because it's very a woman conversation. We're talking about me, right? So I dislike it, but I want to try to extrapolate into a general principle from the personal experience. But by restrain my authenticity, we're not saying, or you're not saying, not being authentic or being inauthentic, but
not at all. No.
But
because it's
articulating, maybe understanding how to articulate it in a way.
No, I think it's even, it's kind of like too much chocolate at one time is not healthy. Like everyone loves a good sinful thing. It just, they have their own little sinful pleasure, but too much of it just makes it feel bad, man. And I think people do lack restraint, and they make Twitter the dark tetrad that Jordan Peterson is complaining about all the time. They eat too much chocolate, and as a result, they don't have any fun. Now, what makes Twitter not fun for you is that you have to be the pioneer in restraining your authenticity. But I think as time goes on, people will learn, or they won't, and the groups will get curated more. But I think restraining authenticity just means, you have one little packet of chocolate and you have another packet. And, it's like, if you can eat all of them together all at one time, or even mix them and melt them and stuff, they just don't taste as good. Like, why would you do that? You got your white chocolates. You got your black yeast chocolates. You got your transist chocolates, and you kind of just do a little one at a time. And I think that's you. You're the Godiva of authenticity.
What the fuck? Hold on, we need to pause the recording really quick.
It's like from watching a bunch of these, it's just, if you weren't there, most people would not be that interesting. Let's be real, including myself. But so thank you.
I mean, Meta, you started out nervous and now we're just getting chill. Just you're on a breathing level. Your breathing is.
Oh yeah. Earlier in the recording, my lip was quivering, and I'm just like, I don't know how to make it stop. I don't know. Because I couldn't tell whether I wanted to smile, laugh, or be serious, and so I was like, I'm just gonna keep talking through the pain. This is so painful because I'm not saying I'm a shy girl. Okay, obviously I'm not.
Yeah.
But what I am is kind of like, I don't know why I'm important. I kind of feel like I'm always in the background doing kind of funny stuff. Okay. Like, for instance, a lot of my Twitter feed is highlighting other people's really funny humor. I'm good at that. I'm good at curating it. I do have some funny moments, but it's usually, again, facilitated by other people being fucking retarded. It's not really me. I'm not like, there's like that guy growing Daniel. He just does one-liners all day. Dumb Tots 5000 one-liners all day. That's not me. I'm just like, I'll just clip a Nick Fuentes or something.
What's up with
or
Nick
quote
Fuentes?
Someone doing like, ignore the big old trad titties. There's some guy who said something really funny that went viral. But so I don't think my nervousness necessarily comes from not wanting to say certain things. So I kind of feel like, unless I know someone, which I feel like I know you now, but like before we started the conversation, I'm like, I just, it just, it just feels like rude, I would say, which is kind of funny coming from me. But I do have a sense of decorum about that.
Wait, what's rude? I was being rude? You're being rude?
No, I just felt like it'd be rude for me to assume that I'm interesting enough to talk to.
Okay, yeah.
Outside of my friends and my family and people I'm fight role playing and people I'm arguing with on the internet, Because like I've watched so many of your friggin' things and people are like, yeah, I'm fighting this battle and doing this shit. I'm like, whoa, man. Holy shit, I should stop this blackpilling me. Or like even with with Daisy. Daisy Chandra. She's like, yeah, I studied religious and monastic stuff. I'm like, whoa, man, what the fuck? Like, I was just trying to use my stipend money, to be honest. I just try to choose the easiest major. You know what I mean? People who have like a purpose in life and stuff. So those are people you talk to.
Well,
I see that.
Well, whether you have a purpose or not, you have a purpose. You have in aggregate, you become a purpose, right? So, I mean, you self-reflecting or reflecting on yourself reveals a lot, actually, in the conversation. We've revealed a lot about, I mean, you've used some terminology, man, moment, woman moment that we have to unpack, but you're talking about the way that the internet discourse is happening, right? And you're engaging it in a way that has depth. You're not just shit posting. Like you are shit posting, but there's a method to the madness. So, and with that method, there is a purpose. As you become more aware of it, as you gain traction, as people start to rely on you or understand how to read you, and then kind of take cues from you on how to have fun, how to approach the internet, you actually produce a feedback loop, and then that starts to aggregate a question around you. Like, what are you doing here? What could you be doing here? What is your role, your responsibility, and what would be fun to do, not just accidentally, not just reactively, but intentionally, like make something, build something, do something, write something, produce something, or be facilitating other people's productions, writings, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, until this conversation, I didn't really see it that way. Just had very few basic rules for trolling, nothing crazy, but that's really it. In terms of like having a purpose, I do understand what you're saying, because I feel like I have created a feedback loop. One of the tropes that I use on my personal feed is my internet friends always bully me, to encourage them to bully me if I say something retarded. Because God only knows I wouldn't want my enemies finding that shit. So, but usually they use it to make fun of me being Asian or a woman or some shit, Or they'll take someone who's obviously like some weird woman that has huge tits and be like, "Is this you?" I'm like, "Fuck no, what do you mean?" Or they'll make fun of me and say like, "Is this you?" And they'll choose like some dude or like Andrew Tate or something. I'm like, that's not me. But
and why do they do that? To not to break you down, but like that's the masculine, like, can you take this insult, or are you insulted? Is that like that kind of thing?
I guess well, I created the activity so that way people wouldn't feel afraid to disagree with me when it really came time. But I've learned that in encouraging it all the time, funny stuff always happens. All sorts of funny stuff happens, and I end up seeing a lot of like really funny content that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. And people see me as the first person that they could think of, and they're like, "Oh yeah, like to make fun of," which then brings them back, so we can have fun on the internet, and then they go out again and they go hang out. But but for the most part, I just wanted people who came across me to feel comfortable with, it's like, okay, you just saw a female profile pic of me. You know that I am female. Don't worry, bro. It's okay. Don't worry. Call me whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It's just the internet, and it just makes it like more fun. Because I've also noticed it helps them get made fun of a lot easier. Because then I use that as my opportunity to insult them as well. And then so it's a tit for tat, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's true, but whatever. And then they just keep coming back, like, is this you? Or but I feel like it just creates a more fun culture. You know what's funny though is that the women are, oh my god, they're the most, like, they're the best at doing it. It borderline hurts because it's so true. They're so good at it.
They can
the guys
pick up on your weakness.
Flirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're so good. But it's like, but it makes it, I feel like I trust them more. And also too, I feel like they know me. So it's also a way for me to kind of figure out who kind of really understands when I'm bullshitting, and when I'm kind of like being a shithead or whatever.
Okay, so just to refine, I think it got lost in the conversation. Like, what is this activity that's eliciting such engagement? What do you propose?
Oh, my internet friends always bully me. And I have a crying emoji. It's like the little semicolon _ semicolon. And they know what that means whenever they see it.
Okay. So, so what you do is that whenever somebody insults you, you repost that? Like, how does this activity, like, function?
Yeah, or I add it to a thread.
Okay.
I have many threads of that.
Okay.
I have threads. My internet friends bully me. I should list them as parts now because there's so many of them. But usually I'll just repost a screenshot and reply to them with a new comment meant to goad them. So they come back like, hey, what the fuck?
Okay.
Stop. But yeah, or I go, like, they'll make fun of me. I'm like, why are you bullying me? To kind of make the term a little bit less scary, because I think cyberbullying has turned into a really scary term, which has some real implications, but I don't want it to be that way for me.
Okay.
Just bully me. Who cares?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Kind of like an anti-fragile kind of thing. Anti-fragility.
Oh, anti-what?
Anti-fragility, it's a concept about like a tea saucer that falls off of the cabinet will break and is fragile, but like, I guess a child that falls off of a counter can break an arm, but can then heal or have some sort of, there are certain systems that are anti-fragile that actually benefit from being broken, and some systems that are fragile that find no benefit in being broken. And so the practice that you're on an ego level, you're like, bruise my ego, because it's not going to kill me, it's going to make me stronger, right?
Yeah.
And not just stronger as in I'm going to be calloused, but I like what you said about your female friends being able to activate their mean girl thing and activate their claws and really dig into you. And you say, oh, wow, you're really sharp. And now I know that other people see that part of me. I see that part of me now. And we were in a jovial space. We weren't trying to destroy each other. We're trying to rough each other up, which is different.
Yep.
And so now we're ready for when the shit does hit the fan, that we know each other's skills.
And I like that girl more too.
Okay. Yeah. And why would you like that girl more?
Because she isn't afraid of the consequences of saying something insulting to another woman. If you remember at all, please ask the next woman, do you ever fear the consequences of saying what you really feel? Do you ever fear that you're going to insult them and that there's going to be blowback? Because it's a real thing that I don't know exists in it does exist in the male space, but not in the same way. Really, so, I guess it's certain things too. It's not all things. I think women don't like to be slut shamed. I don't like to be slut shamed. Some women don't like.
I mean, is it all that hard?
Exactly. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, don't put your roast beef everywhere.
Yeah, just zip up the freaking.
Yeah. That's my thing about the trad woman. Can I just rail about that since I'm here? And
the blonde trad woman that everybody's posting about, or just the concept, the trad wife as a meme, or that specific.
No, that TikTok bitch, the trad wife.
Yeah.
Who, like, in all cases, could have been the apex of red pill, just beauty, and just could have been. She could have been it, and she uses it to fucking flash her tits like every other video, like. I tried, I'm like, dude, I fought with so many guys because they're like, what's wrong with you having big boobs? I'm like, nothing, I love you, titch. Shut the fuck up. It's more so the fact that trad has a moral implication to it. trad is referencing certain values, that uphold traditional roles, and they're like, oh, she's all she's doing is cooking and da-da-da on her TikTok. I'm like, no, that's not all she's doing on her TikTok. She's modeling, acting, just sometimes posting herself in cute like all that, right? I'm like, none of that. I would not autistically screech about it if she just said she's a stay-at-home mom and a stay-at-home wife. Because the non-trad part is emphasizing herself as a female presence on the internet, which is not very trad. I think it would be more trad if she used her social media to celebrate her husband and to showcase the food and not her makeup. But I don't see anything wrong with her being beautiful and having big tits and showing them off. I just don't want her to conflate that with trad life, because then it gives men this unrealistic view, which they're until they saw that meme, like, don't fall for the, big old trad titties. They're just there to hypnotize you into spending all your money on some mediocre hamburger helper. Until they hear that meme from the Thomas Sowell perspective, if I say that, it sounds like I'm being jealous. And that's not what I'm trying to do at all. I'm not. And I get where they're coming from. They're like, she just has big tits. She's beautiful. Like, why do you have a problem with her? I don't. She could show her pussy or whatever. And me personally, would not have a problem. It's when she said that that's trad, that's a problem. They're like, well, other than her modeling sometimes and acting, what's the problem? I'm like, I barely see any posts about her husband, which is what a trad woman does, is celebrate her husband and mythologize her husband and get women to see how wonderful it is to be a wife to a good man and to take care of a house. She's not going to spend all this time modeling in front of her camera. A trad wife is not going to do that. You might not even see the trad wife's face if she knew how to use TikTok at all. That's what I mean. But if she said, I'm an iconic stay-at-home mom who really enjoys the Marilyn Monroe aesthetic, my autistic brain would be like, hell yeah, man, let's see the roast beef. I go, what up? Like, where's the titties? What's going on? Oh, no. And I wouldn't have a problem at all. But that's what I mean. Like, I have gotten criticism from my own internet friends. I have been bullied by them for harping on it incessantly. But I feel like I have finally turned the tide with enough memes. Okay. They're starting to see it because it's so cringe. Ugh. The more they see videos of her with her tits full out, and she's just like modeling and she's not talking about cooking, cleaning, being a wife or anything. They're just like, I'm like, hey man, stop looking at her boobs. These are for her husband. Hey man, what are you doing looking at this video of her? This is for her husband. It makes them feel really uncomfortable. Like, wait, this. I don't know if I ask the guy, what do you have a problem with that? Who's your audience? Is it me or is it you? It's just like, oh, But I braved through it because I don't have a problem with being called jealous if I know that that's not what I am. I like she's hot. Who cares? Yeah. But I would have loved for her to be a little bit more accurate with her self-description. Yeah. But she is becoming an icon. She's been interviewed by so many newspapers already. Oh. It's like, I just went and talked to the Daily Mail about trad life. I'm like, shut the fuck up. She's like she's the sex inverse of Dylan Mulvaney then. It's just another influencer gift. Yes. Like when Dylan's like going out in fucking bicycle shorts and a sports bra and fucking weird slipper heels and running around, running around, oh my God, and tripping. I'm like, what are you doing, girl? I have no problem with you, Dylan Mulvaney. You be a woman. You live your best woman moment, okay? But please stop saying that girlhood is about wearing the most hideous fucking outfit to go jogging in shoes that women should not be jogging in. Please. Please stop saying that it should be illegal to misgender you. Please stop this. That's woman moment. Please don't do it. But anyway, that feels like. It feels like people who are role playing when they don't need to. They could just be a little, just slightly more accurate, and they can live their truth and be totally fine. But I can't gatekeep it. All I can do is criticize it. Yeah. I'm not going to tell Dylan to stop celebrating his girlhood. Whatever. You do that, man. But I can tell my friends that I think it's a little fucking gay that this, that trad wife has her tits out half the time, and that I can barely find anywhere she doesn't. That's not true. She actually is usually pretty modestly dressed. I'm just saying, it's pretty jarring when they are out.
Yeah. Well, they are expansive. There's another.
Whoa, man, that restrained authenticity was a little. You should probably edit that one out. Just kidding.
I don't know. This one's too full of editable stuff. It's just going to go raw. We're raw dogging this.
Oh shit!
You have another habitual or a genre of tweet called follower check. And I think it was a follower check, but it was last week or the week before. You posted this woman, and she's got all these piercings in her face, and she's kind of got this punky aesthetic, not very.
Follower litmus test.
So follower litmus test. But this one woman who's the opposite aesthetic from the trad woman, like just this total if you just saw her, you'd think she's an SJW.
Yes, yeah.
And she said, I serve my husband. I take his boots off. When he gets home, he doesn't raise a finger. He doesn't touch the kitchen. He doesn't clean. Yes. He doesn't do anything. And I devote myself wholeheartedly to him because he is a completely trustworthy person. He's financially stable. He works hard. He takes care of everything. And I totally take care of him. Yeah.
Yep.
There's this really interesting inversion from the aesthetic is completely different than the trad wife, but but it's much more core in that trad kind of female role to the male role, and then high demand of the male, and then a complete subservience to that high Chad.
She spent all her time talking about how she's serving that dude, how fucking great he is. She wasn't made up at all. And the point is not for me to get people to shame the trad wife, the Marilyn Monroe girl. That's not the point. It's me trying to get them to understand that trad is a concept. And can they? A lot of them couldn't. I don't know if you saw, but a lot of them didn't watch it.
Wait, sorry, what?
A lot of them couldn't. They couldn't grasp it. Didn't watch it. Or she looks weird, man. Yeah, I get what you say, but...
Oh, okay. Oh, and then she's
fine.
She's a 5. I'm not going to listen to the thing.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting. You're kind of pulling one on them then. You're showing something about them.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a litmus test as in I will excoriate them or whatever.
Yeah.
Or even... It's just more so... Them. Yeah. And the ones that do fit the challenge, I usually highlight them. Because I do those frequently. I don't always call them a litmus test.
That's so interesting. You're all the boys are on the milkshake, and you say, I select you, and you.
Yep. But it makes for more fun time because then paying attention is flirting. And they can have fun and be smart and be themselves and have a conversation and be savage and do whatever they want. All in this context of just being one of the good ones, because the reputation that I have now, it's you can't hang with her if you're gonna misinterpret this or whatever. Because I've put a guy in full blast when you just because I did a troll. I don't know if you know Claire Foster. Claire Foster, she was recently targeted by Twitter, but the FBI, but they did delete her account. I think she's actually a male in real life, but she's a troll account, and the FBI was marked her for deletion, but then they didn't delete her. So I think it was in Twitter Files 1. But anyway, she had some really funny comment about the border and everything, and I made a comment back to her. I specifically have a couple troll accounts to do that too, and I'll lose followers every time that I agree with her on something because I don't want them anyway. retarded. If they don't understand humor, who cares? I don't want them, you know?
Okay. Oh, so Claire Foster is like the left-wing troll.
Yes. Yeah.
Lefty.
Claire
Okay.
Foster, MD, will say some really disturbing stuff about how, you know, like you could just imagine what she did during COVID with masks or whatever. But I'll just agree, like, oh, you were so right, Claire. Like, people need to triple mask and, you know, make sure they wear one on their vagina too, just for good measure. You know, stuff like that. And some people, because they're not having fun on Twitter, they're like, unfollow and block and fuck you and da-da-da, and they'll send a message and whatever, you know. But there was one guy really flamed the shit out of him. He's like, I lost respect for you because you blah, 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 clearly don't understand how the border works. I'm like, first of all, how can you say that you even had respect for me if you didn't even know that I was joking? Second of all, fuck off. Goodbye. You know, and it was a big thing because I usually don't do that. But there's like a certain line where it's just like, I don't need your respect, dude. You know, just peacefully block and move on. Or just say I'm retarded or something. Yeah. But your respect means nothing to me. Literally nothing to me. And that was the inverse of the Litmus follower test. This is a please don't do this. Because respect doesn't happen from people agreeing with each other on everything. Respect comes from being able to have others understand your perspective and feel an emanating warmth and love from it, even if they disagree. You know, like I think respect, that's actually what respect is. So just because we believe in the same policy, why should you respect me for that? I find that stinky. Very stinky.
I had a,
you know,
I interviewed a man, Barry Wall, last week, a great guy. And we spoke about gender. He's a kind of gender critical gay guy out in the UK. And so I am not gender critical. I think gender is an important topic. I think it's important, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to get in the conversation. But it was really interesting because this woman commented on that about how disappointed she was in me for believing in gender. And I wanted to reply, like, this is the most female typical way of policing my behavior. Like... So in your response to me believing in gender, you're enacting exactly what I'm talking about gendered behavior, and you don't see that.
It's just like, hey, dude, and like, oh, you're disappointed.
Well, okay,
like,
so okay. I don't care that she's. So it's like it's the mind reading, and then I'm disappointed in you. It's like. Well, I don't get mad at them because it's usually kind of a rad femme, GC feminist acting like a woman. It's like, okay, so you're acting like a woman for me saying that women and men are different. And me criticizing the female, you're enacting a female mode of trying to challenge me. So I don't take it personally because they're actually playing into what I'm trying to describe on a social level, especially on the internet, where we're not physical entities. We are going to exhibit this thing called gender, which is it's a social expression of our sex characteristics. Yeah. So there's sometimes I do get mad, but usually you can see that they're faulty or they're playing a game. But I understand like what you're talking about with this guy saying I don't respect you anymore, and that's totally justified. It's totally justified to say that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it's almost kind of like kicking an idiot. It's like, wow, you're so dumb, like that you're the one beating your head against the wall. So
yeah, you're the one not having fun on the internet.
You're the one not having fun on the internet.
Yeah, and I don't want you here. Like, you're literally pissing in the ball pit. Please go away. I didn't block him though.
Yeah.
I didn't even unfollow him until he unfollowed me. Because I don't block anyone actually.
I blocked a guy for saying that I was lying. I'm like, fuck you. Why do you even follow me? You think I'm lying? Why would you follow me? I'm not a plagiarist. I don't make things up.
One of those things. It's like, what does that really mean? Just say what the lie is and say, hey, what did you mean by this? Is this what you actually meant? But people want to make things so unfun sometimes that sometimes I do wish I could block them. Like,
but you don't, because that's not your MO.
Yeah, that's one of my.
It's a sign of weakness to be blocked.
Well, it's one of my few troll rules. Don't block anyone. Just don't do it, because the point is, of it is that the minute, and it's different for you because you have like an actual mission, and maybe I will too, or maybe I do. But I feel like when people have missions, I totally respect the block. Michael Malice does that all the time. Andrew does it all the time. And I don't ever see that as a sign of weakness because they have a brand and they have a set of principles that they believe in that makes it not productive to keep people around that are just wasting space. So block them, whatever. But if you're a troll, blocking them, it has a different meaning. It just means that, you know, you've lost opportunities to, you know, farm or get to know them. And it's, do you know Guy Squiggs?
I don't
know
think
him?
So. Maybe.
Oh, you should. He's so cool. And actually, he was marked by the FBI as well, and they fucking nuked his account. He just got it back.
Squids or Squigs?
Yeah, GUYSQUIGGS. So he's around. He's all over the libertarian space. But we had a disagreement about why Elon got rid of Ye. And I'm like, it's already known. It had, you know, like, well, we had a disagreement on it, right? And then it got all the way to the point where he just like, you know, blah blah blah, and unfollow. And I'm like, okay, not an airport. Just like, well, your mom's a taxi, you know, like, so we basically started hurling insults at each other. Your mom's a whore. Your mom's a fucking whore. And he unfollowed, right? But I didn't block him. I didn't do any of that stuff. And then just the next day, it seemed, Twitter Files 1 came out. And I saw a variant of his name that seemed familiar enough. So I messaged him. I mean, I added him. And he's just like, oh my God, thank you. Because he didn't know. He spent all this time wondering, like, what the fuck happened? I got nuked so hard. And then not only did we become friends, but like, he's one of the coolest guys I know. And we have so many things in common. But that's part of the troll life. You just got to accept sometimes that it won't work out, but it might work out later. I mean, that's my goal. My goal when I troll on people, even that guy who ended up blocking me for doing the sex roleplay on him, if it were me and someone did that to me, I would think they were so cool. It's like they literally used their creativity to fucking dunk on my ass in a way that was so horrible that I can't tell my wife about it. I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude. Not only I'm going to jack off to this tonight, and I'm going to fucking follow you, and we're going to be fucking friends, and I'm going to be weird at you every other week. That's how I would feel if someone did that to me, because I would have been summarily owned. Holy shit. That's what I want from people when I ask them to bully me, is like, give me a reason to feel fun on this hellscape, please. You know? And then, so I kind of feel unappreciated when they block me, but so I don't block them. Because if they ever come back, they're like, oh, this cunt. You know, Jordan Peterson, this is a Machiavellian dark tetrad piece of shit. You know, like just for the one moment that I get highlighted that way, I'm like, all right, do it. That's what you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you gonna branch out and do like something more dedicated? You think? Like a essay, or you're on YouTube, or
what you call me, essay?
Essay? Or essay is it's a short form of long writing. You might have learned of it at Berkeley. You know, there's a thesis and then a body of text, and then
I think I have to relearn how to read first.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Or like a podcast or interview, or do you ever think
podcast?
Yeah, do you ever think moving beyond trolling on Twitter?
Here's what I've noticed in all the greats, including yourself.
Oh.
Modest praise coming from me. But what I've noticed is that there's the time component is one thing. The other part is having, I think you guys have a tough outlook for all the things I've said during this whole interview. None of it means that I am tough-skinned. In fact, I'm thin-skinned. That's why everything I've said is in service of practicing how to be strong. I'm not very strong. I get hurt all the time. I just don't respond to it. so I can learn how to be a people and how to chill out, you know? But I feel like what you guys do takes immense strength, which is why even agreeing to this interview was a huge deal to me. I was so nervous. I threw up one time. Like literally, like, you know? And then basically it's not a big deal. I'm like, oh, I'm not important. Why am I here? Why did I do this? Why did I do this?
Wait, you threw up on screen? Is that when you went out of the screen for a few
No,
minutes?
not now.
Okay, good.
No,
I just want to clarify
that generally
for
made me
folks at home.
laugh. I knee slap. I don't know if you noticed that, but I do. But anyway, yeah, I think, and what I mean by importance is I view people who have the tough skin as having importance in terms of mission. And that necessarily means that they have a belief. I don't know if I have a belief. I just have a way that I want to live, but I don't see it as important or as easily articulated as a universal value. It's just the way I want to live. Whereas I feel like, you know, with what you do, or even Lex Friedman, who I make fun of sometimes, or you know, all these people who have a definitive, you know, mission, it does come with a type of strength that I know that I don't have. And I don't know if I'll ever have it. Because that's the whole point of why I've always been on the internet, is that, you know, I'm kind of like, this is where I could be a keyboard warrior. I mean, in real life, I'm kind of dank too, but that's over a long period of time of curating people who can put up with me and all the other people who could not put up with me. But it has come with immense self-pain to know that I'm just like, why can't I just be normal? Like, fuck. Why do I gotta be this way? Why do I have to say fucked up shit at the worst time? This is a funeral.
Oh, no.
Come on. You know, knowing that I'm that way, it's just like, I don't recommend my way of life for anyone. So I don't know what belief to impart.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think you could be a stand-up. I really think that you have. I know, getting over the absolute anxiety of that. But
I did it one time. Can I tell you the one time I did stand-up? One time.
Yeah, what happened?
Was to shame my then boyfriend, now husbando, for nutting in me. And I fucking shamed him in front of everybody, and they laughed so hard. Because, you know, I'm like, hey, man, you're not going to do it, right? And, you know, anyway, it was a whole bit. It was very raunchy. It was just insane. And then I ruined it by saying the N-word at the end.
Why would you bring that in there?
Because that's what I called him.
Oh, really?
I'm like, you did that, you know? And I was just living my truth. All of that, the whole stand-up was to make him laugh at doing something that I actually was very mad about. And I found a way to impart it to him without it, like conveying the level of embarrassment I wanted him to feel with us being a participant in something that was kind of funny, where he was my only supporter after I said the N-word. Everyone else was just like, ooh, you know, even the bartender and all of them, they're like, that wasn't cool, man. And I'm like, but that's what I called him. Like, and they're like, yeah, but you can't say that. I'm like, why not? Like, I didn't know.
Do you know now, or?
I know now. It's because everyone's having a woman moment, but you know. Like, what does it matter to them if I called my white boyfriend the N-word? What does it matter to them? Honestly, yeah. He's not black. He is a white man. And I called him the N-word. Ooga booga. You know, like, what? Huh. You're having a woman moment. But you know who did support me? My N-word. He had my... my N-word. He's like, no, it was perfect. You did it the exact right way. It needed to be said, and I love you so much. And I'm sorry that I nutted you without your consent. Anyway, that's the last time I do stand up because I would be canceled right away.
Well, the world needs more people to cancel. Maybe you're getting ready. Maybe like your fate, your destiny, the entire project, all these rules for trolling are getting you ready to like truly break the internet with a scathing 35-minute stand-up special that melts the servers that's hosting it.
Yeah, I said to someone recently, I'm like, because he got his account suspended and he came back. I'm like, welcome back, you absolute F slur. But I didn't actually spell it out in his call. I just called him F slur. And he's like, like, yes. Because he hates women. So you never want to be greeted by a woman in some sort of like fashion that's very unwomanly, right? But he enjoyed it. So it was cool. I'm just trying to, test and live my truth and stuff.
Live in your truth. Live in the poof.
Yeah. It's short for Poofy, by the way.
What does that mean? Is that a Pokemon character or something?
No, it was a nickname I gave myself to endear myself to my now husbando because he was a fucking retard. He was an emotional retard and just didn't understand because of all the pain that he was feeling. He was just like, I'm like, well, sometimes I get kind of stormy. I am your puffy cloud. I am a white puffy cloud, but sometimes I need a rain on you. He's just like, oh, you're like a little poofy cloud until you get pissed off and you're like, that's right, I am your poofy. And then he normalized the nickname, so I ended up taking it on as my internet persona because I feel it perfectly encompasses what I want to do, which is to endear myself to the people that I like and have them understand me without necessarily it being a session about how they're bad or awful. Because I wanted to tell him that if I feel sad at what he does, it's not about him. It's about me having a woman cloud moment and getting sad. So I felt like it was like the perfect name but I call it Poof now because I feel like it's more like a verb. Poof, motherfucker. Get poofed. But people still say like, what does poof mean? Like this one guy who made a bunch of video comments at me because I trolled on him and he got hell mad. He's just like, poof, what does that mean? It means poof. You have nothing to say and poof, you're God. I'm like, oh shit. It was like on video, like with his ear gauges getting hell mad at me. Oops. Whoa.
Wow.
You right. That's all.
Thank you for being brave enough to throw up and get over yourself and join me for a chat. I hope it was as good for you as it's going to be for all my audience. Are going to be going, what the fuck is going on about?
Guys, don't cancel me, but if you do, don't cancel Andrew. And I know that saying his link means that you'll probably go over there and get mad at him since he's the bigger creator. He has 500,000, well, more than almost 600,000 subs on YouTube. He is very staunchly, or sorry, not staunchly, dumb word. He is a right-wing YouTuber, but he does everything from the perspective of debunking. So it's not an opinion piece. It's like, here's a bunch of facts. What does this mean? And understanding the implications behind them and showing all the video evidence with them. And he's very good. Don't Walk, Run. And I'm Poofy Saint Sundere. But there's supposed to be 2 T's there, but I only have one because I thought it was cool.
What does it mean? Your handle, Saint Sundere.
Sundere is a anime concept where the girl pretends that she doesn't like the guy. But she does. But the way that she shows it is by beating him. Which I think perfectly encompasses my weeb and my MO.
Wonderful. I'm going to end the recording. Thanks.
Okay.
Poofs.
No problem, man.